guys, we have a special guest visiting us at the Tavern today. You've seen him on GCW, AEW, No Peace Underground, IWA, and a ton of other independent promotions. The Iron Demon, Shane Mercer. Shane, what's going on, man? How are you?
Nothing much, y'all. What's up? Barry, catch a flight here shortly, actually, to go to Beyond Wrestling and just left the gym. So good times.
Busy day. Busy,
man. Staying busy on the run, on the road all the time.
Trying to be much as I can anyway.
So what's been going on in your world, man? We see you popping up everywhere. So how's the indie life going for you right now?
Indie life's going all right. I always trying to get out there and do more as I can, always much as I can, of course. So trying to explore, get new opportunities and see what's up. Doing my singles thing while at the same time still doing the Iron Beast with KTB. So exploring a little bit of all the venues, singles, death matches, tag teams, whatever's offering, whatever's out there.
That's awesome, man. Now, we saw you perform at IWA East Coast Masters of Pain tournament where you had that war outside with Schlack. What led to you taking your first death match?
Actually, the backyard. I've done, of course, everybody has their own backyard stories and all that stuff. I did backyard wrestling for a while whenever I was a teenager, dabbled and all that, but then didn't really do it, of course, coming into professional wrestling for a while. And used to run the road with Aiden Blackheart for a while. And then me and him did one in California at Crimson Crown Wrestling, a death match over there. That was actually my first labeled death match, unless you want to call the one I did in IWA. It was a barbed wire rope match against Isaiah. So one of those two, I guess you could call either or my first death match. But just more of experimenting and getting out there and letting people see a taste of what I've already had in me the whole time.
So when you're walking to the ring and you're walking into a high stakes death match with someone who is going to bring it, like what's going through your head on your way to the ring?
Honestly, I can't wait. It's weird. It's funny if you say that, because as I said, I was cleaning out my bag trying to get ready here. I'm in my little basement workout dungeon area. That's why it looks all gritty and stuff. Yeah. And as I'm cleaning out my bag, and I find my Morning Star that has my side of blood on it still. So you always get a little bit hype before it and let people see what you can't bring, or what you can bring, I should say. Because a lot of people obviously are always going to go with the ladder. They're going to go with the one who's more well known. But sometimes I think the more dangerous entity can be staring into the unknown.
Absolutely. So death matches, that's something you've always wanted to do. That was always in you before actually doing a death match.
Yeah, I've always had it in me. I've never been honestly afraid of nothing as far as that goes and doing any of that stuff. I've just wanted to take the time to showcase it and do it on my own free will, not with somebody else trying to pressure me or put me in and say, I'm a deathmatch guy. I'm not just a deathmatch guy. I'm not just a tag team guy. I want to be like a jack of all trades, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for anyone listening who maybe hasn't ventured into watching some of your deathmatch stuff or just death matches in general, what would you say to them to because I feel like a lot of people think it's just violence for the sake of violence, but there's some real storytelling and psychology in there. So how would you pitch someone who maybe hasn't watched anything to get them to maybe check it out?
Well, it's like a different genre, and I've heard people say it, and it's true. It's like a different genre of movie. People has their own taste to it, and even if you don't like them, of course, there's matches that have very little psychology to them. There's people just beating each other. That's some people's car crash. They like that. They like horror movies like that. Then, of course, there's more horror movies that have more of a storytelling, more of a psychological element, things like that. I mean, I'm sure you can tell a lot of that from recently with Matt Tremont stuff. He always loves to tell a story with his promos. Always does. You always have Neil Diamond Cutters like to tell stories of being a littler guy a lot and still trying to be rabid and coming at you no matter what you do to him. Right. Of course, then you got guys like Masada, who's always just coming there like a shark and just coming straight after you. There's a little bit of everything into it. Just all really depends on what your taste is with it. There's subgenres within the genre of deathmatch wrestling, which I would consider like the horror movies of wrestling, I guess.
So have you ever been in a match where maybe it was getting more intense than you expected? And did it make you elevate or just bring another animal of yourself out? Is there any particular match that maybe comes to mind?
Not, I wouldn't say like nothing that I didn't expect, but that first one I did against Blackheart, I don't know if you can see it. You might be able to right here
Oh,
going
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
There's a scar there where it pretty much cut me down to my skull with a light tube that cut in there pretty good.
Oh wow.
Whenever it did, I mean, I was just squirting blood coming out everywhere. Didn't really expect that. So you got to kind of prepare for it. But then in the moment, I was just kind of like, you know what? Screw it. We're here and let's do it. And I ended up at one point having it drip into my mouth. So I was getting kind of, I guess, animalistic with it and blowing my own blood up in the air and stuff and kind of just going with it at the moment.
I love that, man. That IWA, us seeing you at IWA, that was my first live deathmatch experience ever.
Yeah.
So
we had watched it on,
yeah,
on IWTV and stuff like Fight TV, but we had never been to a show. So when the first match was you and Schlack in the backyard with the cars, so we're just like, this is fucking awesome, dude.
Originally, that match was supposed to have like 2 to 3 cars, but whatever happened, I don't know. But we ended up with like a trailer, a hitch, and that one car. We made it work, though, I guess.
Yeah, you guys destroyed that car.
I knew we were in for a good time when we saw Brett hanging out in the back.
Yeah. So, Brett Lauderdale was at the Masters of Pain tournament, and you've obviously done some work with GCW. What's it been like working with GCW, and what's it been like seeing that company grow? Because it's the hot ticket in town right now.
Oh yeah, since I first came there, it's already had some buzz going to it in 2019. Whenever I first made my debut there, and I already heard about it and was in talks in 2018 with coming there. Till I finally made my debut there, so it already had some buzz going to it, and I knew it would generate and get bigger, but I didn't know it was going to get as big as quick as it was. So it felt good to be a part of like a lot of the original crew who's been there, not the like deep original crew, but like the before a huge hype crew, I guess you could say, going into it and having that in there. And it just feels like home. Honestly, it's one of those places I can let go, let loose, and I know I can just go batshit crazy, and it's okay.
Anytime we speak to someone, whatever promotion they work with, I always like to gauge like what's the atmosphere there in the back, like in the locker room. What's the camaraderie like there? What you said, it's kind of like your home, but what's that feeling you have when you're in the back with all the boys?
Oh, everybody's hyped. We all know that we can have the ultimate freedom to do what we want there and put on. I think that's why you see so many good matches, to whereas other places, you don't always have that kind of freedom. But there you have the ultimate freedom to do what you want in the ring, express your own art form, style of what you want to do. And you got the stories to go behind with it and the eyes to watch it. So it amps you up that much more just to know that, all right, here we go. But you also, on the other side of it, you're excited because you got, your brethren around you and everything. And you know that, hey, tonight we get to bring it. So we're also kind of, everyone in their own way is kind of competing against each other. Because everyone wants to have the best match tonight, have the most eyes on them, of course, and whether it be the story, whether it be the match, whether it be a spot, look, atmosphere, electricity, feeling, whatever it may be, there's always this camaraderie backstage. Everybody's hyped for the other one to, bring your A game out there.
Is there any particular guys that if they're on the card with you, you're like, okay, they're going to bring it, so I'm going to have to bring it just to match what match they're going to put on?
Most of the guys you see, honestly, on GCW now, you always see, for the most part, I can't really single point out anybody above the other one because most of them are there for a reason. You may see people get kind of put in a scramble sometimes as a tryout, or they may go to some of the other shows around them, like JCW and stuff, the Jersey shows, kind of get a little look at them and everything. But once you see them on the card, I mean, they're there for a reason, and they're going to bring some eyes to the show some way, shape, or form.
It's a big deal having Hammerstein coming up, man.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, that's going to be nuts.
That's going to be crazy, man. I love watching you work with some of the smaller guys because some of these power moves you do, man, you're pulling off shit. I don't think there's anybody in the scene right now that does some of these power moves you do.
Well, I've had a lot of these ideas in my head for like years, honestly, just from whether it be toy wrestlers growing up or just my mind with like on a trampoline going through stuff or just talking about guys like, oh, okay, so they do this transition. Because I don't want to be one of those guys that you see that does the run of the mill big guy spots. Like I know so many guys do it, but personally, I don't like the DVD fall away slam spot. I don't like the walk out of the turnbuckle with a big guy power bomb spot. I feel like that's easy because to me, there's always been like a big difference. If you have a squat rack, for instance, and there's 500 pounds on it, you may be able to take someone and put that on their shoulders and walk out with it. Now, to put that on your shoulders, walk out, squat, and come back up, that's a big difference. And I feel like a lot of time whenever people are doing some of those moves, that's like the equivalent of them just walking out with the weight, but they're not really doing it. So I try to come up with stuff that very few people can mimic with it, whether it be the strength alone or the acrobaticness alone or a combination of both. Because usually you'll have one or the other, but not both. So I try to, if I can, combine them to try to see what I can push the envelope with that's still possible.
Yeah, man. There, I'm always like popping huge, like, holy shit, how does he do that?
Dude, it's wild.
So, like, what you mentioned, the being on the trampoline, that early fandom, like, what was some of your early wrestling fandom memories? Like, who were some of your guys growing up? Like, who were some of those wrestlers you looked at when you were a kid?
Oh, Undertaker, Rob Van Dam, Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior is the first match I ever seen him and Hulk Hogan. I loved his energy, his intensity, that atmosphere of being like a superhero. I just loved it. Growing up and seeing all the colors and just insanity, I was just into it as a kid. Back then, people didn't really care about promos or none of that stuff. I just thought it was cool as shit, honestly.
Yeah.
But back then, you didn't look at matches. I mean, I don't feel like people really started like looking at matches in that way until like the internet came about. And then I think it started becoming a talk of like the better matches and the better workers on the card. And then that talk became a trend for more people to catch on to the trend and yada, yada, so on and so forth. But most people's memories growing up with wrestling who are like high 20s, early 30s, so on, speak of that. They think of like, Stone Cold fighting Vince McMahon, glass shattering. They think of the Rock's promos. They think of the Undertaker's gong, Kane's pyro. They think of all that stuff. And you don't think of like 5-star matches. You think of the moments. And I feel like that is a big thing in which creates it growing up, is that kind of stuff. And I feel like a lot of those guys, like Taker, Ultimate Warrior, Rob Van Dam, and ECW, Taz, that stuff really brought those kind of memories for me.
That's awesome.
That's a great answer. I don't think we've ever heard anybody say it like that. I think the moment and stuff like that. I think that's just a good way to look at it.
Yeah, because I mean, when you think back to that's what you remember. Like you said, it's those storyline moments and the big things. You don't remember even the matches per se sometimes.
Yeah, because that was just like the electric atmosphere. Like I remember Rock and Hogan first meeting each other and them just staring at each other. And to me, I was like, oh my God, holy shit, this is awesome. Because I grew up.
It was intense, man.
In both of those eras. And I was like, wow, never thought this would ever happen, like ever. But nowadays you'll have like so many people care about like the trend of hating somebody or like if it's cool to have a good match. And so many people I feel like follow what other people do rather than have their like individual thought about what they actually like. That's kind of hard to tell sometimes the difference between the two.
Right. So when you got into first training, like when you start training, were you more what was the harder thing for you? The physical aspect of it, like taking the bumps, running the ropes, or was it the psychology aspect of it?
The psychology, because a buddy of mine, of course, like I said, we did backyard wrestling for a little while, and he already had pretty much like a ring, so we got to doing that and do our crazy shit as much as we wanted. So bumping wasn't never a problem, especially after doing it on the ground for years. I mean, I wouldn't care. And then after going from that to the ring, that was cake. But as far as like trying to get the psychology and just understand what somebody meant by that, like what are you talking about? I didn't get it for a while, like probably a year, and then after I was like, oh, okay, it just kind of clicks with me.
Yeah. So what was it that made you decide that you wanted to go from being a fan to getting into the business? What was that moment?
Honestly, when I was in kindergarten, they did that little thing where you hear all the kids like, oh, we want to be an astronaut, a fireman, yada, yada. And I was like, pro wrestler. And then fast forward to where you're at the end of school and everybody's like, so what are you going to be? I'm going to ITT Tech. I'm going to be an industrial maintenance technician or, whatever. You hear all that stuff. And I'm like, so what are you going to be? And I'm like, pro wrestler still. Didn't change at all. But my mindset changed on it, of course. I got more intelligent with the way I viewed it and understood the process of it. And like everything that goes into it a lot more. I knew I had to get into a school, knew I had to get trained, knew I had to do this and that is what really meant a lot more than just trying to change it because everybody else told me to. Because of course everybody else wanted me to go be a lawyer, attorney, some high paying job, which may be the smarter decision in the run, but I wouldn't enjoy my life if I didn't give this a shot and try to at least do what I love to do.
Right. So, like, the fact that you've always wanted to do this, when you finally really started chasing it, how did those friends and family react to it?
They were like, shit. Especially my mom. She was just worried about me a lot. My dad, too. My dad was more concerned, though, because he's a roughneck growing up. And he's more concerned of just money. And he was like, so how much you make at this show? When I first started, and he don't have no mindset of it. So he's like, how much you make? Make some good money? And I'm sitting there like $5.
Yeah.
So I cover your gas? No. What are you doing for, you stupid? And I'm like, I guess.
Yeah.
It's one of those hard things to explain to people unless they just understand.
Yeah.
So tell us about the formation of the tag team Iron Beast. That
started at Battle Club initially. Me and him met each other for the first time there at a show I was doing in Jersey. Faced each other one-on-one. He ended up giving me a sidewalk slam across the top turnbuckle. As I did, my head smacked the edge of the ring post. Not enough to knock me silly, but enough to cut me. I think it's on this side right here.
Oh yeah.
That's where that little thing came from right there. And so I had a little bit of blood dripping down my face in there. We beat the shell at each other and had a good match. And I was like, man, this guy kind of clicked a little bit. Cool. And we had, of course, outside the ring, we were goofy as hell to each other too. And we ended up going to Evolve. And then at the time, Gabe Sapolsky was there asking us, because he wanted us both there. And he was like, so, y'all know each other? And we're like, yeah. We just got through beating the hell out of each other a few months ago. So we ended up putting us in a team just to see what was up. And it just clicked. It just worked. Because I would come up with all these crazy ass ideas. And his response half the time would be to laugh at me because they're ridiculous. Then I'd be like, oh, I'm serious. And he's like, screw it. Okay, let's do it. And I'm like, yeah, somebody that goes along with my crazy shit. And it just worked out well.
That's awesome. And you guys had some matches in AEW. So how did your matches in AEW come together and you got to go down to Jacksonville?
Oh, that was fun. We got to face the Dark Order. We did a shot where we faced the Dark Order. And I expected at first to go in there and maybe have a 2 or 3 minute match like most people you'd expect or see and just kind of get pinned and get over with, really, as long as you get some light on you and people see who you are. But we got in there and got to have a 10, 12 minute match. Got to show off a lot of our stuff, and it was just kind of great. I'll give them all the praise in the world. They didn't have to give us that at all. That they gave us a straight up good match, and it was pretty cool. Really awesome of them. And, of course, love to go back there again and get the opportunity to showcase even more now that they're in front of fans and see what that kind of response would be in front of an arena full of them to see what Iron Beast is about.
Yeah, man, it was a great match.
Yeah.
What was that experience like being there during the pandemic where there wasn't, they had people ringside, but you weren't playing to a packed house. So what was that like?
It was different, very different. Took some little bit to getting used to. You had a lot of the wrestlers around the ring too. So that was different, but I still went into it the same mindset of, okay, I know there's not a lot of fans here, but at least there's people that's going to see this. There's a lot of people. So that's kind of where my mind, because I'm always trying to be optimistic person. Because I've been through a lot of personal stuff, like losing parents and things like that. So I try to be more optimistic, to not let myself just bury and use that as an excuse to always be down. So I've seen that about there being no fans there. And I was like, okay, so I can't think of that to get me hyped. Next. And then I started thinking okay, they're going to have YouTube. They're going to do this. A lot of, all right, let's do this shit. Let's go.
Yeah. So what's a day like there? Like when you get there, walk us through the day when of your match with the Dark Order. What was that day like?
Honestly, just a lot. It was a lot of tapings, just waiting because they taped multiple shows at the time. 2 or 3 shows, eat breakfast, tape another show, lunch, tape another show, dinner. We're finally there, and it was our time.
Yeah.
A lot of waiting
around. Yeah.
Yeah, waiting. It was a lot of waiting around, but they had to do that, I guess, because of trying to get all the content, and they couldn't do the touring and stuff like they did. So it was just a lot of tapings in one day.
Sounds like they took care of you on the food, though. That's pretty awesome.
That was amazing. Always can't turn down free food.
Yeah.
What was your experience like with working with Josh Barnett's Bloodsport?
I enjoyed it. I always wanted to do a Bloodsport for a while. And me and Chris Dickinson, I always love getting in the ring with him. Me and him tear it up. I feel like whenever we do our matches. And getting in there and getting to do our thing. I do wish I could get another chance to do it again, though, and go in there and do some stuff. But it was cool because we also was like, I think it was like maybe semi-main or something like that. Because I know Mox and Barnett was like 1 or 2 after us. So that I knew what was following up. So it was pretty cool. And I still try to bring that environment. But I was also wondering at the same time, too, if people would get it. Like some of the stuff I would throw out there. Because I've done martial arts, too. And I'm like, okay, so who do I appease to here? Wrestling fans or martial arts fans? Because if I get put in the armbar, if I tap out quick, that's a martial arts thing. They know I'm protecting myself so I don't get hurt. But in wrestling, they know I need to work it before you get tapped out. So it's like a weird blend there. You got to figure out where the point is you need to appease between the two. It's kind of hard sometimes with that.
I bet that is tough. It does sound tough.
Yeah, it's a different animal. I like what he's doing though with Bloodsport, and it's got to be a feather in your cap because I mean, all the dudes that are on Bloodsport are like the toughest motherfuckers in the business. I feel like some of the toughest guys. So just to be asked to be on that show, it's got to be like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I definitely like to do it again though, for sure.
So if someone were to ask you, like, define what makes, like, maybe someone that doesn't watch wrestling regularly, they see it on TV, if they were to say, what makes pro wrestling awesome to you, what would you say?
Because it can be anything you want it to be. It doesn't have to be any certain niche. And a lot of people associate it with either the heyday of wrestling and the golden era, or they associate it with the 90s, or they associate it with now with AEW or WWE. It ain't necessarily any of that. It's all of it. And I think whatever you want it to be, whether you're a comedy fan, horror fan, whether you're a traditionalist, you're a sports fan, there's a little part of everything in that. Like when I think of those terms, horror, death matches, I think funny, like Chikara back in the day. If you think traditionalist, you think like Ring of Honor. There's a little bit of everything in there if you want it. You just got to be able to take the time to look into it and see if you like it.
What do you think about, the recent news of ROH kind of closing up its doors for the time being, and there's going to be a lot of fresh talent flooding that independent scene probably. Are you excited to have some of that new matchups maybe on the horizon?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely down for it. I got a lot of guys there I'd love to still lock up with. I'd love to lock up with Bandito. I'd love to lock up with Grisham. I've been on so many shows with Grisham, never got the chance to lock up with. Always wanted to, so I could show people a little bit what I'm about. I had a match with Simon Gotch not too long ago where we just wrestled. It wasn't me throwing somebody for a change. And I feel like sometimes I get put in a category. That's all I do is just power stuff, throw people. That's about it. Which that's a lot of what I do because that's what people want to see. But there's so much more that I can do in there, and I'd like to showcase a lot more of that. Like I was talking about earlier, being that tool to broadcast myself.
So that match you had with Simon Gotch, did you feel like you got to showcase a lot more of things that people didn't really get to see?
Yeah, feel like I got to show a lot more of my side, like of who I am. I have a martial arts background. I got to show a little bit of that more than just like, hey, I'm going to catch you and throw you into the 5th row.
Is that a tough thing to because like listening to you talk about it, some people know you as the power guy with these crazy acrobatic power moves, and then some people know you death match, and you got to do that match with Gresham and really show your wrestling. So is that something that's kind of like you have to really try and work to showcase everything that you have, because you maybe sometimes you would get pigeonholed into something?
Yeah, it's kind of like I was saying earlier. I feel like sometimes it's not always about like what style of wrestler you are fully. It's about what people see, and they'll automatically follow the leader or follow the sheep, I guess, on what they think. So if you see a lot of people and you haven't even seen a guy, and they say, for instance, he's a deathmatch guy, then people are going to start saying he's a deathmatch guy. Next thing you know, people that don't know him are going to say he's a deathmatch guy. And it just kind of rolls with that. And that's part of social media now. You have to kind of think about and worry about what comes along with your styles and what you do mostly. Because if I do 3 or 4 matches where I'm throwing people into the crowd, now I'm that guy. From now on, I'm that guy. Like I did the bleacher spot once, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard about that now. About bleachers and stuff. I did that like one time. I'm picking them up. Actually, twice. I did it twice, but I've been referred to that so many times now, and I'm like, all right, cool. So have you seen my other matches yet or anything? But I don't hear nothing about that. It's just more about what goes viral, what people see the most, and what they associate you with. So if you want something like that, I feel like you have to work a little bit harder to change the format of what you are or what you want to showcase, or at least get more eyes on it.
Right. So what's some of your passions, like shit you enjoy doing, winding down, relaxing, that has absolutely nothing to do with pro wrestling?
I collect comic book crossovers. I've been doing that for years. Like anything that's weird influx at all. Like hell, I don't know. I've had like the Darkness versus Hulk, and like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Batman, Power Rangers versus the Justice League, like weird stuff like that. Powdered Toast Man from Ren and Stimpy versus Spider-Man. I've always thought like weird stuff like that was cool, and I try to collect like crossovers, only crossovers. Gaming. I've always been a huge gamer since I was little. That never left. Just read. Like to read. Working out, of course, obviously. Collect medieval weaponry.
Awesome.
I think that's unique. I'm trying to refurbish the basement down here right now. That's why it looks like shit. And I'm gonna eventually put a wall down here of nothing but medieval weaponry all over the walls, swords,
awesome.
shields, and chainmail, and all that.
That's all. What's some of your prized possessions that you have right now?
Oh, I have upstairs a claymore that's like the size of me. It's pretty big. I'm trying to get this real size bronze shield that's like 300 pounds. You have to hold it across like that. I'm looking to get that in a full set of knight armor. I have that upstairs, and I got some spike gloves, ninja stars. I got some kais, just all kinds of stuff.
That's awesome, man.
That's cool shit. That's awesome.
What
I'll
video?
showcase it off eventually whenever I get like the wall looking decent enough to do something with it.
Yeah. What video games you enjoy playing?
I'm not like a system dude, but I got PS5. Trying to work on getting the Series X if I can never find one anywhere. But I've always been pretty broad across. I like action games, first person shooters, RPGs, platformers. I'm a little bit of everything. I just don't like simulation games. I don't like those a whole lot, like The Sims or
yeah,
Chrono Trigger, stuff like that.
So you're one of the lucky ones who got a PS5. I can't find.
I went through a process to get one. I went on eBay, bought one for like $750. Knew I got screwed out of my money a little bit. Turned around, put that one back on eBay, sold it for like $950 last Christmas because I knew people would buy it up. Then after they bought it, I took the extra money, bought another one with that extra money left over, and kept it for like $720. So I ended up getting one, but it cost me like maybe like $400 total instead of the actual price. So I made a deal out of it, but not as much as I was hoping for.
That's awesome.
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
My little cousin just won a lottery to buy one.
Oh,
so
really?
It's like the processes to get those right now. It's crazy.
So how you said you're flying out to go wrestle at Beyond Wrestling? What's a you're getting your stuff together. What's a travel day like for you? Do you mainly stay like most of the shows you do? Is it mostly East Coast, or are you going anywhere and everywhere?
No, I'm going anywhere as long as it doesn't come out of my pocket. As long as I'm not trying to have to pay the tab on coming somewhere, or it's like unrealistic where it's like one booking and it takes me 3 days to travel. It's just not worth it doing something like that.
Right.
But if I can go somewhere, and have like 2 or 3 bookings or something like that, or booked up on a coast or getting a good flight there or something, I'll go anywhere. I got my passport. I'm ready to leave the country too.
Have you ever done any overseas work? Are you looking to? Is there anywhere overseas you'd love to go work?
Well, I'd love to go over to Japan, definitely. Definitely love to go over to Japan. If not with the next GCW tour over there, then on my own, hopefully looking at early next year sometime, doing something like that.
So do you have any GCW shows like locked in for you that you're looking at on the horizon?
You'll see me there to the end of the year, 31st and 1st. I will be there.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
At what is it, Till Infinity and a Die for This?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's a question I have, man. So you've showed a couple of the scars that you've gotten. Now, all the ones that you have, do you treat those like do you have a story for every one of them? Like, do you know what happened? Are they like tattoos, or do you have a story behind each one?
The ones on my forehead, yeah. Ones on my back and stuff, not really. Because there's just, I don't know. Half of them I didn't even know was there. I just know they came from death matches.
Yeah.
What's your favorite spot in a death match? Are you a barbed wire guy? Are you a light tubes guy? Like what's your shit in a death match?
I like the light tubes a lot. The sheets of glass. I feel like they're easy to get across and do stuff with and unique. Because I don't want to go in there and just be like, oh, light tube, smash, smash, smash. I feel like anybody can do that. So if I go in there, I like to use a lot of my medieval weaponry combined with some of the deathmatch elements. Like I like to lay a sheet of glass and somebody maybe smash them with a morning star, or take my sword whip I got and throw somebody in the air and then put a light tube under them while they're coming down, and smack the whip into them, just change it up to where people know, oh, this shit, that Shane Mercer stuff right there.
That's awesome. Now, are there any particular opponents from your past that stick out to you? Like, as far as you look back to that match, and maybe it was early in your career, or maybe it was recent, and you look back to that match or that opponent, and you're like, man, that moment pushed me to my limits, or changed me, or I learned something in that moment that I carry with me to this day.
Probably me and Isaiah's feud that we had. We feuded off and on for like 3 or 4 years. And every time we came back, it was like a different way. Either I'd be the heel, he'd be a face, or we'd be a tag team, both faces feuding, or it'd just be across the country at GCW for the Juggalo Championship Wrestling, or just something different general. Plus, we're friends in real life, so it always came across something different to learning stone. I feel like we always come about, circle, come back to each other, and it's almost time to do it again somewhere.
That's awesome, man. So what, when you look at the landscape of pro wrestling right now, is there any other promotions that you haven't worked in that piques your interest of like, I want to do more stuff there?
I want to go to PWG before it's said and done. I see a lot of people that I wrestle with currently going there. Tony Deppen, Zane, Blake Christian, AJ Gray, and I'd like to go there and show them what I got.
Yeah, you're tailor made for PWG, man. What's your next goal? What's your goals over the next couple of years?
Like you mentioned one earlier, Japan, going there and face some of these names that you seen get released recently or just dropped out of ROH. I like to go in there and put on some top names in that. I like to get some gold around my waist at GCW, just to show them there what I'm about, whether it be tag gold or taking on Mox and taking his gold from him. Whichever one.
I'm down to see that.
Let's see, if not that, maybe looking at somewhere else and seeing about getting signed somewhere if it looks right, and I can still be me at the end of the day.
Yep,
absolutely,
yeah,
man.
You can't lose that, man.
So, are we going to can we look forward to seeing you at the Hammerstein?
Yes, you'll see me at the Hammerstein. One way or another, I will be there.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for that. Well, man, before we let you go, I know you're packing, getting ready to head out. We have one more question we always like to ask before we let you go. So you're making towns. The pandemic's over. You're making towns all the time. You're in the car. You can have 3 wrestlers in the car with you, alive or dead. What 3 wrestlers are you bringing with you on the road?
What 3 wrestlers? Let me see here. Probably one of them would be Bruno Sammartino. I'd like to hear a lot of his stories and stuff. He'd be somebody cool to work out with too, because he was somebody that loved working out back in the day. So that would click very well in there, and to hear his stories as well, that'd probably be entertaining. Ric Flair, just because it's Ric Flair, and you see all the crazy shit he would do. It'd have to be like 80s Ric Flair though. And then probably let's see here. Probably Taker, just because he was one of my all-time favorites growing up, and still, again, just being around him and hearing everything, hearing all the stories from all 3 legends like that. That'd be entertaining, and then mix it up as well.
Well, the best thing about that, you get stories from every era too.
Oh yeah.
Like that's a great mishmash.
80s Flair,
I love
90s
that.
Taker, 60s, 70s San Martino. That's a hell of a car ride.
Because I've seen some interviews with San Martino and it seemed like how strong he was back in the day, and that was nuts. And he always seemed pretty chill, dude. So that'd be awesome. Originally, I thought Andre the Giant. I was like, man, no one else would really fit in there with me.
I think that's a man. That's a van.
yeah. You need a van there.
Yeah.
Well, Shane, thanks for stopping by, man. Let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
You can look me up on Instagram, Shane Mercer, Twitter handle at the Iron Demon. You can find me on Facebook, Shane Mercer. Pretty much Shane Mercer across all boards. You can look me up or the Iron Demon. You'll find me.
And any shows in particular we should keep an eye out coming up in the recent weeks?
Got Beyond tomorrow, so check that out. Got Limitless Wrestling this week, and then you got GCW at the end of the year, 31st and 1st. Definitely keep an eye on those if you want to see me.
Awesome,
yeah,
man. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, dude. We look forward to seeing your career and watching some GCW stuff, and I'm going to check out that Beyond too. But have a good night, man, and safe travels.
You too, man. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.